Now that the pieces are painted, we're going to go ahead and assemble the water wheel. There's two sides to the water wheel, plus 12 of these 1.5-inch beams used for the paddles. These are all painted. And you're also going to need one of the B2 beams that we glued together to go through the middle. Now, we had put a little square in here to make sure this was a 1/2-inch square, but since we've painted it, this is going to be too tight to fit. In other words, you might be able to get this thing to squeeze in there a little bit, but it's going to be really tight. The other half that I'm trying to fit in is not even going in. So what you're going to have to do is to enlarge this hole just a little bit. So I would take like a hobby knife, and I would go and I would scrape the paint off the inside of this. Now it's really okay because the inside of this you're never going to see anyway. I mean, we're going to have beams against it. So just scrape the paint off the inside and scrape a little bit of the plaster off the inside with a hobby knife until you can fairly easily slide that beam through it. Now on our plan, you're going to see something next to the water wheel that looks like a saw blade here. What we're going to do is this is a template we're going to use to put the paddles in the right place around. Notice it's got a square hole and it's got a dotted line around the outside. What I'm going to do is double stick tape it to a piece of just medium to thin cardstock is fine. It doesn't have to be really thick. It's just going to be a guide. So what I would do is just take several strips of double stick tape. Since we had to have this stuff anyway to tape the planks down with, I'm just going to go ahead and use it to sort of stick this plan down. And we're going to stick it down and we're going to cut this thing out with a pair of scissors. So, okay, we've got that. And then I'm just going to slide it underneath it here and make sure it pretty much fits all the way on. And then push it down. And then we're just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut this guy out like this. Okay, don't need that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go around and cut on the dotted line all the way around. So just be sure that you get your, and do the best you can to try to follow the line. Or you could use an X-Acto knife and a cutting board underneath if you're more comfortable with that. I think to me it might just be quicker and easier to use a pair of scissors. Okay, now that we've got our template cut out here, take the water wheel. You want the texture side to be down. So we've got the smooth or the scraped side facing up. Then we're going to go ahead and lay the template onto it like this. And we'll go ahead and poke this beam through the center hole, although we're not going to glue the beam in place yet. We're just going to leave that loose. Now this might move around a little bit, but it give you kind of a fair idea of where that's supposed to sit. Then we're going to take all of our little 1.5-inch planks that have been painted, and we're going to glue these around the outside. Now, you want the scraped side or the untextured side to be against the template, like right about here, okay? So the scraped or untextured would go against the template right here. We're just going to put glue on the bottom and glue these things all the way around and let it sit and dry. Okay, once this is fairly dry, I didn't wait till it's too dry just in case I accidentally glued this template down, with the excess glue. What you can do is you can just take the center beam out. It came out with it. Or, once you take the center beam out, use an X-Acto knife and kind of remove that template out of there. Then at this point what we're going to do is we're going to set the beam back in. We're going to set the other half on top of it, and there's only one way that thing sort of goes. So we're going to put it down on top of there and we're going to glue the other half of it onto the tops of those beams. When we do that, it's probably good to have something like our Legos here to go against the side and make sure that that's fairly square, at least about as square as you can get it all the way around. It's probably not going to be perfect, but it will be close enough because this thing's going to be sort of suspended in the water, and if it's a little uneven, it's not really going to make that much difference.